It was at this moment that he knew.
He bucked up. Welcome. You're listening to Bucked Up with Sam Buck.
Fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you have fucked up.
We were talking about once you get like the 5 minutes writing new material. Yeah.
Because like for me, like it started like until I met Josh Blue, my career was like, I mean, in terms of it was not even a career. It's like I'm hanging out at the clubs and trying to get guest spots and meet comedians, see if they like my set.
Yeah.
That was my only thing. Like if I do a guest spot, if the actual comedian likes me, they might let me hang out with them, that I could get more opportunities to guest spot.
Mm-hmm.
That was my only thing. And I used to hang out with at Catch a Rising Star, Mike Tomasino. He passed away during COVID.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. I still think like he's watching over me, because he really like took me aside and he was like, yo, you have something, you should keep doing this. And then like he was managing me.
Oh, really?
He's my manager. He's like, one day he's like, Vishnu, I've been in this business for 30 years. I never managed anyone. But if it's okay with you, I would like to manage you.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, man, like, I'm not making any money. And he's like, it's okay, whatever you make, I'll take 10%. And he was helping me meet comics. I met Paul Virzee through him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he was, how long into comedy did he give you that offer?
That was like, I was maybe in 3.5 years into it. I mean, the thing is like, everything helped me. Like I was doing open mics, but I was afraid to go out to like clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw I read this book by Kevin Hart. That was like open,
His like self-help.
yeah,
book.
yeah,
yeah, I've read
It's
that
like,
too. Yeah.
I didn't make this up or something. Like I can't make this up.
Mm-hmm.
That book just changed my life, because until then I was going to like Mike Tomasino, people that I know I can go and like have a happy time.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what, I gotta go to places that I haven't been to after I read the book.
Yeah.
Then I went to Tina Graham's room in like 78, and she started, she liked me, and it's like that 5 minutes you get, like I wanted to impress them.
Yeah.
And that's how I met Josh Blue in Stress Factory. They let me do a guest spot. He saw me, and he was like, hey, you're funny. I'm always looking for good comics. Stay in touch. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to let him go. I'm going to like attach myself to him. So I looked up where else he's coming, and he was coming to Albany. And I pinged him. I was like, hey man, is it cool if I come there and do a guest spot? And I went there and I did a guest spot, and I did an entirely different spot, different material, like and then I went to another club somewhere else. He was coming like few months later. I hit him up. I went there again, did a different set, and again I did well. And then he was like, hey man, you're kind of following me. So we got to see, like I like your dedication, but we got to see how I can get you paid. And then that was like a good positive vibe for me, like
Yeah.
And then like one day he called me and he said, hey, my feature bailed on me, and I need a feature, and I know, do you have 20 minutes? And I was like, yeah, I have 20 minutes. And he's like, if you have 20 minutes, this is your opportunity, come by. And I went there, and he got me paid. He put me in a hotel.
Was that your first
Yeah,
real show as like
yeah.
a
Like
paid comedian?
Yeah. Like I was going to do guest spots where I paid for my own hotel and everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I know features, not a lot of features, they don't get hotel, but Josh Blue is like super kind like that. He was like, hey, I'll put you in the hotel. I'll pay you like $100 a show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, like
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like
That's what so many people's dreams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we get into this for.
Yeah, and then I did well, and then Columbus, he said, hey, they usually like on Thursdays they let you headline, so if you think you have like 40 minutes, hit them up. And I said, yeah, Columbus is my hometown. I can get people there. And I was like, I hit them up. I said, can I do Thursday headline? And they're like, yes. And I did 45 minutes, and I actually did well. I have that tape.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I have the content. It's just that I never, now things started opening up, and then Josh Blue was impressed. He was like, and then somehow our thing, it became a 2-man show. Like, we he's like, I let you do more time since you're doing well. I want you to, like, build your thing, and if you host, I'm such a really bad host. I'm like the worst host you can ever have. But he's it's like, I
Great
forget.
feature, horrible host.
Yeah, I'm hosting him for every show 6 times, and every show I managed to forget something.
His credit or
Yeah.
like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, and sometimes it's like, I mean, I know if there's a guest spot or someone, I screw it up, and he's like, Vishnu, you gotta work on that, man. But he was so kind, man. Like, he let me do 30 minutes, like 25, 30 minutes, and every time he's always writing new stuff. Like, if you see his material, like it's always changing, like, and he's always, for me, he's like, I was telling you earlier, right? He was like, hey, I'm always, my audience are repeat audience. They love me, and I don't want to keep giving them the same show. So every time you do, you got to have something new, and that also helped me kind of get my material. Like, when I headlined at Columbus, I was nervous. The material is funny, but my muscle memory wasn't there yet.
That's your first time doing an
Yeah,
extended
yeah,
set like that.
yeah.
It's about like that first, when you get your first like group of jokes that work, that
Yeah, yeah.
no matter what,
Yeah.
these jokes are
Yeah.
going to work. It's hard then stepping away from them.
Yeah.
That's, I think, like a real big problem that I even feel myself. Like, I'm from Mass, so when I did Brooklyn Comedy Club
Yeah,
last night, like
yeah.
when I did that set, I want to do my new jokes, the jokes I feel more fresh,
Yeah.
but I feel like, no, I should do the jokes I feel comfortable
Because
with.
your muscle memory resists you. It's like, you're like,
Exactly,
yo,
yeah.
man, this works. Like, just going this route, like, then you're on autopilot.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then that's where people get stuck.
Yeah,
Because the
yeah.
next step is, no, the Josh Blue. Listen, I'm a professional. I'm
Yeah.
always writing
Yeah,
new
yeah.
material. It's not like you have a finite amount of jokes in your brain. No,
Yeah.
you're creating kind of like the path to write new jokes
Yeah.
about whatever.
Yeah, yeah, and then also, like, doing longer sets helps in that sense, because, like, when you're doing 20-25 minutes, you can insert something in there, but to do that, you kind of have to go away from your muscle memory, because, like, how you categorize like, I don't know, everybody works different ways. Like,
Yeah.
I categorize my jokes into different, like, themes. So when I'm in this theme, I kind of, I kind of know which jokes to go to. But then, like, if I want to add something, then I have to, like, kind of give it a break and go somewhere else. So for a while, I struggled doing that. But now I feel comfortable where I could just take a joke and just kind of pepper it anywhere in my set. I don't have to worry about my segues.
Yeah. Do you sit down and write your stuff out?
No, I'm really bad at writing.
Yeah, me too.
I'm always thinking about stuff in my head, and then I kind of keep reciting it, and I kind of make it into my conversation piece.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I'm hanging out with my friends, a story you keep telling.
Yeah.
I,
Do your friends call you out on it now? I'll have friends being like, "Are you trying to bid out on us right now?"
the worst part is they do it when I'm not doing it. Like, sometimes you're doing it and they don't even catch it.
Yeah.
And then when you're actually having a conversation, they're like, "Oh, you're running a bid on
You're
me."
like,
I'm
"No,
like, no, man, I'm just trying to have
I'm just trying to be funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like when I write jokes, I have to be doing something else. Like, I like to ride my bike. So,
Yeah.
like, I like to ride my bike
Yeah.
and come up with jokes
Yeah.
then, because I can't look at my phone. I can't go Google
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
else. My body is active and my mind can then be like
Yeah.
relaxed. But
Driving, riding my bicycle, walking,
mhm.
because I think when your body is in motion, your mind is free, because when you are, it's just my theory. Like, when you are idle, your mind is like, what do I need to do? Like, I'm not doing something.
Yeah.
But I think when you're going from point A to point B, your mind knows I can just relax.
And you
Yeah.
were talking about driving to like, that's where, like, what if I hear someone say that, oh, that's 30, 45 minutes away. I'm not going to, I
Dude,
know
that's
that
my
they're
type.
not going to like
Yeah.
make it past a certain point. I will drive anywhere to do
Oh,
a set,
yeah.
to do, and that helps me think like the driving and that just time, especially if you're driving to a show and it's like 2 hours away, your mind's thinking about jokes for those 2 hours. And just driving, getting out of your circle is such
Yeah.
a good way to just.
It is.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like for me, right? Like you know how you have that gut feeling you will make it?
Mm-hmm.
When you have that gut feeling, either you make it or not, you're willing to go the extra mile.
Yeah.
You know, for me, like, I mean, this is how I am. Like, even though I suck at playing tennis, if I play it, I'm playing the fucking Wimbledon. I'm not competitive like that. I'm just a show off in my head.
Total. If
Like,
I'm gonna start something, I'm gonna be
yeah,
fully into
yeah.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
imagining like audience, like cheering, like every, you know, in my head, it's
Yeah.
like a fucking stadium. You know?
Do you think that's detrimental to you at all? I don't know how you are, but before we were talking about weed and stuff where
Yeah.
it's like, because I want to be fully committed to something,
Yeah.
it sometimes holds me back from trying something new. Like right now, I really want to box, but I want to go full into it, so I'm scared to even start
That's
because,
true.
you know?
That's true. I didn't do comedy for a long time because of that reason. Because I had material. I was writing it. Like literally my writing process is I think about a scenario, a story, and then back then I used to just run it on my friends. Like we get drunk and then I run my stories on them and they know my stories, you know.
Yeah.
And they always tell me like, dude, you should take this shit on stage. But I was afraid of my accent. But that was really just an excuse.
It's what the resistance in your brain. Yeah.
And then one day my wife is like, hey man, like, you know, if you don't do this, you're going to die a really sad man. And she's like, you're going to make my life miserable too. So, you know, and then we found that book, Kevin Hart's.
Mm-hmm.
You know, until then, what was just a, you know, open mic thing. I was like, I know I can do this, but I don't want to, you know, I don't know, like, you know, I shouldn't do this. You know, and then when I read that book, I could literally like feel what he was thinking, like every step of the way, because he walks through his journey.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gave it to my wife. I was like, you know what, this is the shit we will go through. Like we're going to fight. We are going to, all this stuff is going to happen to us. And are you okay with that? And she read it and she was like, I really don't have a choice, you know, because the way I look at it, either you're going to be a sad man, I'm going to live with a man that wants to make it, never made it because he didn't try, or a man who tried and failed. I would rather take the second one.
That's a beautiful to have support like that. I
Yeah.
think I know friends who are in situations where
Yeah.
their significant other is not supportive of their dream. So to have like that,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
sometimes you can't make the decision yourself. You need like your wife to call you because you run
Yeah.
a business. Like you
Yeah.
talk about it on stage, like you have a business that you run.
Yeah.
You had a whole other life. So for her to be like,
Yeah.
I know that's going well, but you need to put that to the side to focus on this.
Well, here is another thing too. I was working on movies by then. I've been working for about 10 years on movies, writing scripts and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because but the thing is, writing for movies is a little bit different because writing a whole script, I'm more like a scene doctor. Like I can take a scene and make it more funnier, or more, you know.
Were you doing this professionally?
Yeah, I worked for like 3 Indian movies, like,
Okay.
you know, and then but when I try to write a whole script, like there is not really a good job for a scene doctor. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Like that's why writer rooms are better for you know, sitcoms.
Yeah, exactly. You can
Yeah.
bounce your ideas
Yeah.
off other people, and
Yeah,
if you
but-
get lost, someone
yeah.
else picks it up. Yeah.
But in India, to make it as a movie director, that is really the main way to get in. And I need to have an entire script, you know, and I have like 10 different scripts with multiple pieces. So I was always working on other people's scripts, making them better, but not really like getting my script ready. And I came to a point where I was like, okay, now if I want to go anywhere, I have to go to India. because I worked on like 3 movies already. I could get a director's card. I could get access to people, but I have to move to India, and we didn't really want to. I'm here in New York, and and this is what I really want to do: stand up. All this other stuff is.
Did you always, was stand up always the thing
Yeah,
you were?
yeah. Because when I moved here when I was 14. I saw Jay Leno. Basic cable was a thing, and Jay Leno used to come and like make fun of current affairs, and that was really cool. Like I didn't know he had writers behind him. For me, that guy is coming up every day, and he's funny as hell, and he's making jokes about current affairs like politicians. And since I moved in, like in India now, they also do it in India, but like in 90s, that was not a common practice. Like the mainstream media never picks on the politicians. They always give them that respect. And here he's making dick jokes on Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, man, that is what I want to do. Like, if I'm gonna live in this country, that's what I want to do. But everybody always told me I have bad accent. Like, like we can't understand your accent, and that was always the thing that held me back.
Do you think that's true? Like, now that you have been doing stand up some time,
Yeah.
do you think that, or as you said, do you think that was you holding yourself
That
back?
was me holding myself, because I think everything we consider, again, I'm generalizing, but I personally, my experience, everything I considered as a negative wasn't negative. It's always had a different dimension to it. Because when I moved here when I was 14, I didn't know English. I only know my language. I know how to read and write because the teachers in school and all books are written in English, but we are very we didn't like speaking in English. English speaking in English made me feel very how do you say, like uppity, like I don't want to show
Anxious.
off, like
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want my friends to think like I'm showing off. Like speaking in English is like
Oh.
trying to show off.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't speak in English after school, or during school. We speak in our own language. So I never practiced English. So and also with the accent and everything, I only know how to read and write. So I could read boards and like but I can't understand movies and stuff like that. So when I moved here, I couldn't talk to girls. I couldn't, the I didn't understand.
Did you move here with your family?
Yeah, I moved with my family, and I couldn't understand music, movies. It was like really sucky. Like I was like, fuck, man. Like why do I have to go through this?
Yeah.
But now I'm like, okay, I moved here when I was 14, so I had a very good understanding about Indian culture. And then because I moved here when I'm 14, I have a very good understanding about America and American culture. So, and I don't think anyone else can claim that. You know, I'm sure there are other people that have other special skills, but I think that is my thing.
Yeah.
And at this point, even my accent, there are people that say my accent is what is making me funny. I know I'm funny. I would be funny in any accent.
Yeah, no, you're a great joke writer.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like so people, what I thought was my negative, like I was like, oh man, I can't go up on stage because of my accent. There are actually people that thought my accent is more funny than my actual jokes. So
Do you look back at this time? How old were you when you started? You said you've been doing it 7, 8 years.
yeah, I was around 35, 36.
Okay. Do you see when you saw Jay Leno for the first time to when you got on stage for the first time? Do you regret that you didn't do it sooner, or do you see that as like, I wouldn't be who I am right now without that?
I definitely regret not doing it just because of the wasted time. It's not. I mean, I think no matter what time I started, I would have been the same. Like in terms of funny, because my content changed. Like back then, most of my stuff was like college stuff and or like kid stuff. Like I still do a lot of my jokes from my childhood, like stuff that happened to me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I still had all that content. In fact, like one of my brand, like my joke is like the elephant joke, which is my closure. In fact, my T-shirt is
Yeah,
like,
you have the elephant T-shirt. Yeah.
that joke I did in 2001 in New York City, Avenue A and First Street. There was a bar. It was like a. I was working on a movie, and we were looking for actors, and they said, "Hey man, this place is like a place where a lot of artists come. You could find a lot of different characters, so go hang out there." So my friend and I, we went there, and we were trying to cast for this. It didn't go anywhere. It was
Yeah.
a short film. Um, and when we went there, they charged me $5. I thought that was like to watch it, but it was like an open mic thing. The
Yeah.
$5 gets you $5 on stage, and it was like bring your own beer. So we had our own beer. We had our own weed. So we were high, and then the guy came up to me and he was like, "That was only I was only in America for like 5 6 years. My accent was even thicker." He was like, "It's your turn. Go up." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, the $5. Go up. You have 5 minutes." And I didn't want to waste my $5. So I went up and I told that I didn't know what else to talk about, and I recently watched that elephant fuck, and I talked about it, and people were literally rolling on the floor. And my friends, like my friend was like, "Bro, I think you have better chances in comedy than in filmmaking." So that joke, I literally had it since like 2001.
Wow. Were you married at that point?
No, no, no. I got married much later.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like my wife, she saw me perform. Like I emceed my brother's wedding, and she saw like I had like I didn't prepare. Everybody was freaking out. They were like, "What the fuck is he going to talk about? Like he didn't write it down. He's not memorizing shit." And I was like,
Are you known for saying crazy shit?
"Not crazy shit."
Oh, I
it's
didn't know
just-
if they were like, "Oh no, is he about to
Oh,
drop
no,
some
no.
bombs on
No,
us
no,
right
no,
now?"
no, it wasn't like that. It's just that even my parents, they never saw me like speak like, into a mic.
Yeah.
So they didn't know what is going on. My brother and I, we have a 5-year age difference. So like our groups, like the friends are different.
Mhm.
So he never saw like, I'm always speaking at my friends' weddings and stuff. Or like, whatever things happen, I go and say some story and it's funny.
Yeah.
But like they didn't know what I was going to talk about, and what they know is like an MC who writes everything down and every last word, like they read it and memorize it, and they're sweating it out until they get on stage. And there I was like joking around, and then I go up and I did really well.
Are you funny with your family, like
Yeah.
around what? Like my grandma, when she met like an ex at the time, when I first, she was like, "He's never been funny. I don't know why he wanted to do stand up."
It's different, right? It depends on the people. Some people you open up to, and some people you don't. Because
100%. Like
because you're-
you can't
yeah.
show your true self to certain people.
Yeah, and also you're absorbing more. Like with my family, I was more absorbing more because my dad is extremely funny. My mom is funny. My grandfather is like really funny. The whole town, like my grandfather, like he sold his land to send my parents and my dad and his siblings to colleges. And everybody was like, "Why would you sell your land to send your kids to college? They're not going to. So he kind of ended up poor, but my parents, like my dad and my dad's sisters, they all like became really educated, and like really, like my dad is a doctor, and
Oh wow.
so
He sold his land in India or
in
here?
India, like before, like
Yeah, yeah.
way before, and he moved into town. He sold his land in the village where there are no schools, and the British never built schools for us. So if you want to go to a school, you have to go to a town or a city where there is. So even after independence, for longest time, good schools are always in the cities. So he sold his land and took the money, went to the city. He invested it, but he lost it all because he didn't understand the city dynamics.
Yeah.
But in the process, he was able to educate his kids really well. So when my dad was he was still trying to make it, I remember my grandfather was like literally penniless, and like we had enough to eat, but it wasn't like where he had money in his pocket where he could just draw it out and pay for something.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, everywhere I go, all like literally the entire fucking town. It's not even in India. There are a lot of people, like 6 million people in my town. You know, it's not, it's a small town, but it's that many people.
Yeah.
And everyone, they were like, when is your grandfather showing up, man? We've been waiting for him. We've been waiting for him. Like, I go to school, my teachers want to talk to my grandfather. I was like, what the fuck is up with this guy? Like, you know, he
Yeah.
got no fucking money.
But he's still.
Yeah, like, why do you guys want his presence so much? Because he's funny. Like, he
Yeah.
just cracks everybody up. He just talks about.
Had a good mindset about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a real story. One of my schools, he came to join me in the school, and while he was joining me in the school, he was having a conversation with the principal, and he asked him like, and he remembers like people and their generations. So he asked him his name, and then he's like, "Oh, your dad is so and so," and I think all your brothers, they're all in America, right? And he was like, "Yeah, all my brothers, they're all doctors. They all went to America." And he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
Just roasting the
Yeah.
principal.
You know, why would you sit here and teach 13-year-old kids all your life? Is this what you want to do with your life? I can teach these kids. You go to America. You know, he was like roasting this guy, right? You won't believe it. Like halfway into my school year, that school got sold. That guy sold his school, took the money, went to America, came back, went to medical school, and then went back to America.
All because of your grandfather.
I mean, I don't know, like, you know, but
Yeah.
the conversation, I was there.
And he
I'm
did.
sure he probably got that from other people
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
But I just, like, for me, it's like, dude, like, this guy comes to, like, join me in the school and the fucks up the whole damn school. Like,
Selling the. Did your, like. Would your family. Were they supportive of you going into, like, arts, or did they want you to go to college, be a doctor, you know, a actual profession in quotation marks?
well, the thing was, like they, in India, arts used to be, like, really big. Like, we had, like, you know, storytelling called Harikatha, Burakatha. These are, like, stories that people professionally come village to village and tell these mythical stories in a form of a song and a dance. And, you know, these are, like, really big hit. Like, I've seen them when I was a kid. But the thing is, those people never made any money. They're literally begging. Like, you know, they perform and then they go around collecting funds from people.
Yeah.
So that was because of that reason, arts were kind of looked down in a way. And also other thing is, like, my grandfather was the first generation out of British occupation. So for him, like, he's like either really get people educated, and India also went through a big change as soon as we got the independence.
What year was that?
This is like 1947.
Okay.
But what happened was, like, during British time, lower caste people were very oppressed, and the division was very high. Like, you know, caste division was really bad. So when India got its independence, Gandhi and Nehru, and what they did is they got this guy called Ambedkar, who is from the lower caste, and he's a very well educated, very, you know, very intelligent person, and asked him to create Indian constitution, like write Indian constitution, and he heavily borrowed from British and American constitution, and Indian constitution is the biggest constitution in the world. It's all about, like, civil rights, and, you know, and out of that there is also one of the things where he's like, for 10 years all the people of lower caste should get 90% or whatever, like, you know, reservations for all government jobs and in government schools. So even if they have a lower score, because, you know, their living situation was bad, so you can't expect them to compete with someone who's richer.
Yeah.
So they could get into a government school which is free. But the thing is, a lot of us, like, I'm considered an upper caste, even though, I mean, my grandparents are farmers, but I'm considered an upper caste. And these are not like the Hinduism only divides by 4 castes. But the society in India is divided by several thousand castes, because people
Really?
people literally, like, broke into clans. So this is not, it really has nothing to do with religion anymore. This is, and even though I'm considered, for example, I'm considered a Reddy caste, which is considered an upper caste, but there are a lot of people who are also poor within it because they're all farmers. Like for example, my grandfather, he had a land, so he was rich. But then when he sold it and he lost it all, you know, moved into city to get education for his kids, and when his kids are ready to go to college, the wall for them is they can't get into good schools because of reservation. You know, and they that you know when they try to correct one wrong, they created another wrong. You know,
Yeah.
they fixed one problem, and the 10 years which Ambedkar put in now is literally like almost like 80 years. Those things continue because politicians also don't want to approach it because they don't approach it as a whole like problem solving. They're always like, okay, if I do this, I might hurt this group of people. If I make this change, I might hurt that group of people. But if I don't make any change, nobody is going to become, like the problem still is there, but since I didn't touch it, I didn't create it, I can't be blamed.
Is that
So
does that hurt more people in the long run?
well, it is getting to a point because what happens is the people that are educated, so the first generation of lower caste people, now most of the administrative positions are held by lower caste people in India, like IAS, IPS, like, Indian Police Service, Indian Administrative Service, all these service jobs, all these jobs, and a lot of doctors, emerged because of that, which is really good. But now the justification is if you are already have taken advantage of it and become a doctor, should your son still get this advantage, or should he be competing with everybody else? And if you think about it ethically, he shouldn't because the generation wealth has been created.
Yeah.
He
So you're stuck in the caste of your parents or grandparents.
well, it's because of the system. It's not like I don't even tell my caste anybody. Like, I don't follow it. There is
Right,
no ritual
right.
to follow with it.
But in
because
society,
in society, because the benefits are all associated to your caste. The government's benefits are associated to your caste.
and are you like when you're born, are you you're put in a caste?
Yes, because it's like your last name. Like, you're born into a family. That is your family. Like, yeah, So it's not like you can get out of. It's like you were born a Mormon.
You can't switch castes once you're
Well, you can switch a religion. There is no such thing as I can't switch. But the thing is, like, I can't say, since I'm born into a Reddy, I can't go and say, from now on, I'm going to be a lower caste person, give me the benefits. It doesn't work that way.
yeah.
Like, so the way to approach it is, like, I personally think is to go by the wealth gap at this point. After 50 years, we have a couple of generations took advantage of that program. And I feel, that is a lot of people, the argument is coming up. But at the same time, there are still places, because India is a huge country. I mean, we have 1 billion people.
Yeah.
And India has only been free for like 70 years. And the way they want to do it is the inequalities created by caste, they want to get rid of them. And it is working to a point because now you have lower caste people educated, but we are not still there yet where we can say all of our lower caste people are uplifted.
Do you think there comes a point when there is no longer a caste system?
If you think about it, in actual religion, there is no longer the caste system, because there was a time during British that upper caste people wouldn't allow lower caste people into the temples, and that kind of shit is all illegal now. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't discriminate someone because of their caste. That is illegal. The funny part is before British ruled, like if I look at my ancestral like history, people don't know what caste they are before British. And before British, according to Hindus, there are 4 castes, and they're not based on your birth. They're based on what you do. And there is a story within Mahabharata where this guy Karna is born as even though he's born as he's born to a Kshatriya woman, but he's given away, and nobody knows what he's born as. But he's brought up as a son of a think there is like Brahmana, Kshatriya, Sudra. He's brought up as a son of a Sudra, like a fisherman,
Mm-hmm.
but he's a very good archer. And when the princes of the kingdom they were giving their archery demonstration, he goes and challenges them for a fight, like for a demonstration, like I can do better than you guys.
Yeah.
And they say, well, you're not a prince, you can't compete against us. And then one of the princes steps out and he says, listen guys, I am giving him a kingdom of mine, so he is a prince now. So immediately he's allowed to, there was some discussion, but he's allowed to compete. So what does that say? That says that as soon as a Sudra person became a Kshatriya by taking the kingdom, he was able to do what he couldn't do before. And the way it was explained was because I read a lot,
Yeah.
it was explained is like Brahmins and educators, like pundits, like Brahmins, not Brahmins, like pundits, like educators and priests and doctors, writers, they all come in as Brahmins, and they say like they come from Brahma's head, because that's where the brain is. It's not because of which caste you're born. You could be a dumbass and
Yeah.
but based on what you do. And then there is like Sudras are the people working, and then there is like businessmen, and then there is Kshatriyas, which are kings, and they're the rulers. They come from the shoulders, that shows the strength. And then businessmen, I believe, come from the hands, because they transact, and
Yeah.
and then Sudras come from the feet, because feet do all the work, like leg work.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire society is run by the Sudras, because they are the farmers, they are the workers. And then that is all there was. And then from that, later on, the society, how societies get fucked up.
Yeah.
People that clean toilets and people that do the dirty work were kind of segregated as untouchables. And it started from the feeling of, like, they were doing the cleaning and I don't want to touch them. That became to a point where if you're born into this family, I'm not going to touch you. You are considered dirty. And the society pushed it to an extreme point where the upper caste people started feeling like, the thing is, like, if you are born to a Brahmin, like if you're born to a educator, chances are you would become an educator, because schools are not available for people. So you learn your parents' art, like whatever they do.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, that also contributed to this lineage thing, like, hereditary thing. And so all this like stuff, society getting to extreme, and culminated with the British coming and kind of extracting all the wealth from us, and everything acted together. So by the time British left, we have a really dirt poor country with no natural resources and a population of 98% who can't read or write. So even if we make a law, people can't read or write. Our first step is to educate our people. And they did a pretty good job. They could have always done a better job.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, Israel started in 1947. They did a tremendous job. But the thing for them is it's a more of a homogeneous with all the problems they had. The advantage they had is it was a more homogeneous population, and most of them are educated.
Mm-hmm.
We started with a population that is like, you have every religion there is, and we are all divided into these clans of castes, and there is really no rule or basis for it anymore. Some castes, you don't even know what the fuck they do. They're just there, like somehow they came up. And now, even now, the politicians, how they think. They want groups. They would rather deal with groups of people than individual people, right? Even in America, that's what we do, liberals and conservatives. And there it's like you're a ready caste, we'll give you these benefits, we'll give you
Whatever's the easiest.
Yeah.
And do they use you said that like the religion isn't really tied to it anymore. Do they use that in like a bad, like in America they do that. You look at the right and you see
Like
how they use
BJP.
religion to kind of like push ideas or
Yeah.
ideologies onto people that aren't really there, but
Exactly.
it's because of this certain like
Because the thing is like you know what, like for example BJP, right? BJP is considered a Hindu, Hindu. Some people say fundamental party, but I wouldn't go that extreme. But at the same time, they they think they are carrying the weight of the Hindus. They think they are representing Hindus, but I feel like what they're actually doing is not representing us. They're assuming they're representing us. Hindus, for us, Muslims came to India, Christians came to India. It was never that where Hindus attacked them,
yeah.
they attacked us. It was never like we wanted them to leave. A lot of people came to India, from Alexander till but the thing is, the religions that came, they were more insecure than the people there are. And one of the things that this is something I got from Discovery. You know how they say they made drugs illegal? In India, Christianity is considered a failure because after 200 years of British rule and missionaries, they could only convert 10% of the Indian population. And when they looked at it, like, why is that? Because for us, God is everywhere. You can't give him a name. In fact, our God is a female. We call her Jagannatha, like Mother Universe. And from her came Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma, and they are only representatives for each 14 worlds. And every 14 worlds they change. So we are never loyal to them. Our worlds could change, but we are loyal to Jagannatha, Mother Universe. And lot of Westerners don't get that. They come in and they say, and for us, God in Bhagavad Gita it says God says, you pray to me however you want to pray. I will respond to you in that form. So literally, I could pray to this mic right here, and I could see God here. So when Christians came and said Jesus Christ is Son of God, we had no problem accepting it. We didn't say we don't accept, we want to kill you. Whereas Muslims had that issue. Muslims did not accept that, so they were fighting. So a lot of times, when the Christians, at least in missionaries, when they try to teach us something, we're willing to listen to it. Okay, God could be like that. God could be anything. If you say God could be like that, he could be like that. Yeah, thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not kill people. We had no problem with that. So how do you convert someone if you can't convince me what I believe is wrong?
So I went to church when I was a kid. Not a super religious church, but I did go to church. And when I was in it, I didn't believe in it. I think probably in those years I would consider myself an atheist.
Yeah.
And then coming out of church, and when you get to low places, and you can realize God is everywhere, that is when I found God again in the universe. I hate the terms. I've talked about this on the podcast, but like our language isn't strong enough to describe what we actually mean. So I do believe in God as in the universe or wherever, like prayer. Like when I was in church, I had no connection to God at all. But when I meditate, that is some of the most spiritual connections I've ever had. And it isn't in like an organized religion form, which I think is the biggest problem with Christianity, is it's like putting structure to something that's structureless.
Well, I think what happened over the time in both for Christianity and Islam and because they're the biggest religions that are trying to spread. In their interest in spreading what they thought is right, they became insecure to a point where if you don't agree with me, I shall kill you. And that's when they lost their traction. Because the minute you have to come to me and say, you cannot convince me by your idea that you have to kill me, you have lost to me. You know?
Yeah.
And they don't understand that is what happened to them. What they thought is Indians, our sannyasis are always smoked up. They smoke. So they actually thought because they're smoking marijuana, they're not accepting our facts. They're thinking too much. And we don't want them to think too much. So we need to ban drugs. and that is when Geneva Convention happened, and that is when they made this international ban on drugs.
I didn't realize this. Is weed like popular in India?
It is, yeah, because weed is we call it bang as well. It's we consider it as a medicinal thing, like and it's used during festivities. And our sannyasis, they do that, like they are always meditating.
Mm-hmm.
These people meditate for months, and they are not here anymore. They come to a point where they are high, and like, for example, Steve Jobs went to India, like, Beatles went to India. They went to gurus, and that's where they got introduced to these drugs, because that's how they meditate, and they feel like those are tools given by God to achieve a different level of enlightenment that we cannot achieve at our regular daily thing.
So we talked about weed, but have you ever done like psychedelics?
I haven't. I tried to once. I bought these mushrooms from this guy. They were so fucking bad, and I was sick, and I hated them.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I never tried.
Never
again.
tried it
I
again.
wanted to, but again, I didn't. I got scared, like,
Yeah.
I
Well, we
got
can talk off mic about it. I might be able to help you out with
Oh,
that.
that would be nice.
But
yeah.
do you have like a connection to? Are you religious at all? Do you have a connection to God? Do you?
I'm not religious. I hate the idea of trying to put my ideas on someone else. I like to believe in the intelligence of other people, because I believe God gave all of us intelligence and a sense of right and wrong. Of course, we have people with psychological problems that commit crime, and I think we should deal with them in that way. I know the pain of the crime is what hurts us, that we want to hit back and punish at them. But a lot of times, I know I'm getting very spiritual here.
No,
but, like,
I'm loving this. Yeah.
Thanks. Like a lot of times we trying to associate result as if, like, right now, right here. The revenge has to happen right now, right here. But the karma, like, the way we British people are our translators, and the way they explain stuff to Westerners is not right. Like, for example, they throw karma at you as a word, as if it doesn't have a meaning. So people say karma, and they understand different things about karma. But karma literally means result. There are three things that we talk about. There is karta, karma, and kriya. Karta is the person who do it. Kriya is the verb, the actual act. And karma is the result of it. And the way Bhagavad Gita says it is, we look at this life as one cycle, right? Like you're born and you die. But this is several cycles. So at the end, everything gets evened out. So if your every action is to do something right, you will never fail. It might look like you're failing. You might experience emotional pain. Like, for example, when you lose someone unfairly, we are like pissed off. We want to take the revenge. You caused me this pain. But the thing is, like, what it says is, this is all transcendental. It's like when you play a video game, you lose your friend. They will respawn. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And this is something else I was thinking about when I was really high. I'll share it with you. I actually think we are already in heaven. We just don't know it, because our economists are wrong. They always said we had limited resources, which means everybody has to be greedy and get everything they can. But now that we are able to harvest energy from sun, we need to come to a term where our resources are not limited.
I agree. I think I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but I think we are greedy about time and energy too. Like, we used to think there was only, let's stand up. There's only a certain amount of spots. If you're not those 5 people, you're never going to do it. But then you realize, no, if you help everyone else grow.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of the spiritual teacher Ram Dass, but he talks about.
I didn't hear it.
He talks about, and I've talked about this on the podcast, but he talks about, like, seeing a crazy man on the street screaming that he's Jesus.
Yeah.
And he walks up to the guy and he's like, "That's great, man. Like, you're Jesus, I'm Jesus too. Like, that guy's Jesus, that guy's Jesus." And the guy's like, "No, shut the fuck up. I'm Jesus, you're not Jesus." Then the guy's like, "Oh, he's not Jesus because he doesn't realize we all are." Where it's like, it's when you realize anyone can be special and anyone can do it, then we all rise up together. It's not this greedy mentality of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
me versus everybody.
Yeah.
It's no, anyone can
Yeah,
do it, and
yeah.
I should help those people
Yeah,
out.
we have to trust each other. Like a lot of times, like if someone is not,
Do you mind turning on the AC, Ani? Thanks.
I feel like if someone is failing at something, maybe they either, there is usually a reason, and one of the reasons could be like they're not doing what they're good at. Because a lot of times we fall into that trap, like we think we're good at something because we get influenced by people around us,
Yeah.
but our calling is something else. And then we are failing at this and we're kicking ourselves, saying like, oh man, I suck, my life sucks, I'm miserable, everybody is so successful around me. And all along, like, you are like not born to do that. Your skill is set is something else. Like I went through that. Like I was trying to do my IT job. I mean, I'm okay, but I'm not excellent. I'm doing it for like 15 years now, and I'm not running like the company, or I'm not a CTO. And I have friends who are CTOs, and and I used to beat myself up. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm so bad at this. Like, how can I be so bad at this? And because that's not my calling. And I did not realize it until much later. I started doing what I wanted to do.
Stand up.
Yeah, and when I started doing stand up, even though like literally like last 3-4 years, I had such a tremendous growth that I did not see before. Like for like 3 years I was doing it on and off, but when I actually committed to it and started doing it, things started happening to me.
Because talent or being good at something is like the ticket to play. But then I think people like sit on that and they don't
Yeah.
want to put.
Yeah.
Also, outworking other people is where talent
Yeah.
comes from. Like, not taking it seriously,
Yeah,
treating it
exactly.
like a
Yeah.
profession where you're like, no, this is my calling. We were talking, you were talking about the like cycles.
Yeah.
Where something I feel very blessed with is that I realized in this cycle that I'm on, I'm picking comedy. Because when I was a kid, when I was growing up, I didn't know I wanted to be a baseball player. I wanted to
Yeah.
be a chef. I wanted to write movies. I wanted to. And you can't do all that.
Yeah.
Comedy is the thing. Like, that's my thing. And
Yeah.
on maybe another cycle, I can be a chef. But
Yeah.
that's not what I'm going to focus on in this lifetime. What I'm going to focus on is being a comedian and putting everything into that.
Yeah.
And maybe in the next life, I
Yeah.
can do my other dream. I
Yeah.
can put my work fully into
Yeah.
being a movie star, whatever the fuck that is.
And you will find success in weirdest ways. There are people that tried to play professional sports, couldn't make it, became excellent coach. I'm not saying like we are always trying to like I feel like we tend to try to define ourselves based on who's around us.
Mhm.
And sometimes I think we need to like, because like when I started comedy, there was nobody I know around me. I used to go to these bars and clubs where I had nobody I know, like nobody to talk to, and I was scared, like I never been to those areas before. I didn't know if my car is safe outside. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and but the thing is, my calling was like in my gut. I was like, I have to be here. This is what I want to do. And I just wish if everybody could find that. Like, if there is one thing I wish upon people is that they find what they love to do, like truly love to do. I think if we all really concentrate on that instead of like gathering wealth around us or things around us, I think we'll be a much better, and we can literally have that heaven on earth. We have, because even if you are in heaven, right? Wouldn't heaven get boring if the shit is same over and over and over?
Yeah.
But how would you make heaven better? Think about it. You would actually make it better by coming back and going and coming back and going, right? And then every time you come back, you would like to have a different experience, right? You don't want, and what would be better if you can't remember until you finish it? Then you have, when you go back, you have the culmination of all your experiences, and then you're like, okay, in my next life, if I want to do this, I want to come back as an eagle,
Yeah.
and then you get to pick. Like, imagine that would be heaven, right? Like, you come back and you do what you want to do. You go back and you brag with your friends, have a couple of drinks, and then you're like, all right, man, I'm going to go back and play this again. Experience a different life. And I feel like that's how it works. So we are already in heaven, but we don't get it. So we are fucking up stuff for each other. And if we just like mind our own fucking business, do what makes us happy, as long as it's not killing or hurting someone else or causing pain to someone else. There are times where you cause pain inadvertently, like you don't
Yeah.
mean to, but blame that on karma. But like, don't do harm to someone because you want to do harm, because you want to take a revenge. Because let shit work it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like
yeah.
if we, even that Jesus Christ thing, like when you're telling me about that guy screaming about Jesus Christ, if that's what giving him joy, why the fuck do you want to stop him? Like, let him scream out Jesus Christ in the corner of a street. He's not bothering no one, right?
Yeah.
Why would I stop him? Like, if the guy wants, that's what makes him happy and that's what he want to do for 8 hours a day, let him do it.
Okay. But so you were talked about your wife saying, "Hey, you're gonna be an unhappy person if you
Yeah.
don't." What was what was that point that you realized this? That you were like, I am gonna follow my dream. I'm not just gonna,
Yeah. Because to tell you the truth, this is like always in the back of my head. Like, I want to be a stand-up comedian, but I was influenced by people around me. Like, my dad is a doctor, and maybe I should be a doctor. And then I realized, like, at the time in our life, my dad is not in a position to send me to college for 8 years. And with my track record, like, I don't think I would be able to really finish it, even if I go. And the next step is like, how could I go to 4 years of college and come out with a guaranteed job? And my focus was like, what is there that would give me a job? And I think this is what a lot of Indian kids do, like, because we come from that environment where we lacked everything, and if we want to succeed, what do we do? Like, how do we get to the next step? And for me, that was IT at the time. It just seemed like, okay, everything is going to be automated, and everybody wanted, work with computers.
yeah.
And I read some Fortran program at the time, and it was about like doing some math, and I was like, okay, even if I could automate all the math shit, that'd be cool. So I started doing computer science, but I liked it, but my real calling is to entertain people.
But did there come like a point where you realized that?
When I emceed I was doing it. I did the movies. Movies was the point where I went to drop off my brother at his college, and there is the poster for New York Film School.
Mm-hmm.
And I called the number, and they said, like, we have a deal right now for half price if you come during summer. And I went and did for 6 weeks, and then I started working in films. But I was enjoying the part where I work with the scene, and I make it funny, or I actually am always enjoying the attention, like, like in the set when people say I did something good, like, I always try to innovate new stuff,
Yeah.
just for the
And stand-up's great for
yeah.
quick reaction. You know exactly if
Yeah.
something's good or not.
Yeah, and I'm always like making comments during the time. I was like, yo, man, that didn't work, do something else, and upset the director. Like, sometimes, I'm the assistant director, and the director should be the one making the
Yeah.
call, but I'm like, yo, that shit don't work. That's not funny. Like, who the fuck told you that's funny? Like, that line is not working. Like, look at them,
Yeah.
And then they get upset. Like, I got kicked out of a couple of sets like that. But through that, it was a long process for me. If I didn't have that thing bothering me about my accent, I would have been in Greenwich Village in 2000. Like, if my accent wasn't, if I didn't think of it as my handicap,
Yeah.
I would have been there in 2000. But because I thought of its handicap, I was there much later in like 2014.
But you're here now, like you're making something now.
Oh, yeah,
You that gut, you were right. That
I was
that
right,
vo-
yeah.
Anyone listening, like that voice in the back of your head, is right.
And the thing is, this entire transformation that I'm talking to you about, this all came to me after I started doing comedy. After I started truly being happy with myself, I could do a mic where there are all the other comics looking into their material that they're not even paying attention. But when I throw a punchline, I get a little, you know, that used to make my day.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, those people were not even paying attention to you. Like in my head, and they laughed at that bit. Like, if imagine if I could take that in a club full of people, those motherfuckers will be on the floor,
Yeah.
And I used to drive into city, in a weekend, like try to do like 3-4 mics. End of the day, I probably performed in front of like 2 or 3 actual live people, because how mics are.
But
like,
it's still
yeah,
like,
still like it's like. But one of the things I also really enjoyed is like, especially I used to do mics with like Eliezer Guzman. He has a mic in Amboy, Perthamba, Amboy
Okay.
in New Jersey. It's a bar mic, so there is always people there.
yeah.
And I used to, like, as I'm driving there, I used to think of a joke and work it out multiple times, like, and then I take it on stage like the same day. And sometimes it works, and I'll be like on the top of the world, like, yo, like that was the fastest like anybody ever wrote it. Like, I don't know, but like,
Yeah.
it used to make me feel good, like, So yeah, driving, even now I don't hit as many mics because I'm getting to a point where I'm getting shows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's cool, like, I even in shows, like, and I do like 8 minutes. I try to throw in a joke, like new joke.
Yeah.
So I could, it's fun, and then if that hits, I'm like on the moon.
That's the best. Getting a new joke. That's what we're wrapping up, but that's what we were talking about in the beginning was like, you get stuck in those first jokes that work,
Yeah.
but you forget the feeling. That's why you like the first time you get a big laugh.
Yeah.
That feeling is so amazing that you forget that you enjoy it more
Yeah.
when you try something new and it gets a laugh than doing something that you've done 100 times and
Yeah.
it gets a laugh.
But because other thing is we miss this. I feel like I'm not an expert at this. I'm still figuring this shit out. But like one of the things I feel like, if I do a joke over and over, the fat gets cut, and you really have like what really works. Like a lot of times I think of something and it's like a concept, and I initially think it in my head. It's like a freaking 6-minute bit. But then over time, it becomes really 2 minutes.
Yeah, or 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Or I'll have a story that becomes a one-liner.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, I
Yeah.
thought this was going to be my clothing
Yeah.
story, but
Yeah.
it's a one-liner of
One-liner,
another
yeah.
bit that I
Yeah.
didn't even,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and like when you do longer sets, it's kind of cool to, like, something you think would be like a 3 or 4 minute bit, like, you're not sure, you put it in there, and then see how the people are feeling it, and then you like kind of note like where are all the fatties, and then you're like, okay, now they need a payoff right away. Like you go into a quicker bit
Yeah.
because you kind of held them back for a little bit,
Right, and you take that off
Yeah.
and you kind of refine it until
Yeah,
you get
like-
that tight set.
Yeah.
Man,
So-
thank you very much for coming
Thanks,
on. This
man.
was a great conversation.
Oh,
I'm
thanks,
really
man. I had
happy
so
we
much
got to
fun.
do this. Yeah.
Yeah,
How
me
long
too.
do we do, Ani? Like an hour 10?
Just an hour 5, yeah, just over an hour.
Perfect.
Oh, awesome.
What do you have any shows coming up? Dates coming up?
Well, right now, this weekend, I've been opening for Jared Fried.
Oh, Jared's a
oh, yeah.
hilarious
He's
comic,
hilarious,
great dude. Yeah.
And his sets are very dynamic. Like like each set, like I like to watch people on stage.
Yeah.
And and with Bridgeport, the comedy club is really well built. Like
Oh, I've never been to that
Oh
club.
yeah,
I'm gonna
it's
have to
really
check it
cool.
out.
Like the green room is like so big, man. It's amazing. And then they pump out the voice in all the rooms, like green room and bathroom.
Oh, so
and
you can
everything.
hear it.
You can hear it, so I could hear him, and his even if the material is same, the set is dynamic. Like
He's
mixes
so
it.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Are you
really
gonna
good.
come with him to Laugh Boston when he does that?
I don't know. This is the first time I got paid.
Oh,
with
this
him.
is your first. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, it wasn't like he didn't know that it would be me. I think Stress Factory put me there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
this is like my, and then we have 2 more shows. I'm gonna ask him if I could go with him. I don't know.
you should. That's
Yeah,
all.
I'm like, I get worried about asking though, because like sometimes they'll be like, you really think you're that good? You can,
Yeah.
because they're like really big comics. I don't want to like hurt their ego.
I totally feel the same way. Like
Yeah.
for this podcast, I have a lot of rappers on this podcast, and I
Yeah.
feel comfortable talking to but I feel more awkward like asking a comedian to come on because it's like I don't know why. It's like we're doing the same. I don't want you
Yeah.
to judge my work.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
if I don't
yeah.
have the same work as you, I don't care if you judge
Yeah.
it. But
I
we're
know
doing the
people
same
say,
thing.
like, you should be like confident, but I am confident, but at the same time,
You don't want to be overbearing.
yeah, I don't want to step on other people's toes. Like, I want to keep to my little space.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and even now, like, I used to ask people a lot, like, for guest spots, just because I used to think like, you give me a guest spot, and if I disappoint you once, I will never ask you again.
Yeah.
But if I don't ever ask you, you are never going to get to see me, and that's like me denying you an option, right?
Yeah.
At least that's what I used to.
No,
do.
I have that problem. Some of my best gigs that I've gotten has been from me reaching out,
Yeah.
but then I still feel scared to reach
Oh, yeah.
out.
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't ever want to ask for spots.
Oh yeah,
you
a
know?
lot of my friends in the beginning, they will be like, "Yo, man, you shouldn't be asking people like that. They take it bad." Like this one time, I drove this comic to his show. Like this other comic was going, and the guy who's producing the show,
Mhm.
he's also going, and I drove him through the tunnel, paid $16, to go to their show,
Yeah.
just so I could hang out. I'm not on the show. This is like,
Yeah,
I'm
you're
trying
just-
to get into city.
Exactly.
And then I got there, and the comics, like, few people didn't show up. So I went up to him. I was like, "Yo, man, can I get 5 minutes?" And he said, he actually gave it to me. But later on, the other comic, who's my friend, told me, like, "Yo, he was kind of offended that you came up to him and asked him for a guest spot like that. He don't even know you that well." I was like, "Bro, I just drove him through the fucking tunnel.
Yeah.
Like, what more do you want to know me?
Yeah.
We sat through the fucking tube for 15 minutes or like whatever, and we were together. Like, he knows me well enough. If he's offended with that, fuck him.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you're like, but those things like imprint on your head. You're like, maybe that is bad. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way.
But
Yeah.
if I don't ask, like, how the fuck are they going to know I'm good?
Right. And I believe in myself. I
Yeah.
have that voice telling me that I want to prove myself. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
I wouldn't ask for a situation I'm not ready for. And I
Yeah.
think some people ask for situations they're
And-
not ready
yeah.
for, and that's where it gets fucked
I
up.
think they ruin it for all
But
of
I'm
us,
not
yeah.
going to ask for something that I know I'm not prepared for.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I don't want to embarrass myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't want to look like a dickhead. I don't want to
Yeah.
make you look like a dickhead. I'm trying to help you. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to tell you I can do 30 minutes unless I know I have 50 minutes and 30 minutes of good material. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
Like, because if I come up there and I only have 22 minutes and then 8 minutes you're bored as fuck, you're going to remember those 8 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. You're
You're
not
like-
going to remember
yeah,
the rest.
you're not going to remember the rest, and I don't want to take the chance.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Man, thank you very much. Thanks
Thank
for
you, man.
coming out to
Thank
the
you so
city for
much.
doing this. Thank
Thanks,
you.
bro. I had a lot of fun.
Of course. What's your social media so people can
yeah,
find it?
at comic_wish with a VISH.
And everyone go listen to his stuff on YouTube. Where's the camera? There it is. It's hilarious. You have so many clips up on YouTube that are
Oh, yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
Really good.
Thank
You're
you
good
so
at
much.
promoting your stuff, and
I'm
everyone should
trying
go
to,
watch that. Yeah.
I'm trying to write more and put it out. I figured that's the best way to get people to buy tickets.
Yeah.
And if I
That's-
can get people to buy tickets, clubs will book me.
Exactly. Yeah. People don't want, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.